got two new seasons coming up for Arc Raiders, one for Trials and one, well, for everything else, with the Expedition upcoming, resetting all of that. Today, the team at Embark detailed a bit about what's upcoming for this season of Trials and what you should know, what comes along with it, and to me, how it can also point us in the right direction for the coming update of Frozen Trails, the next big one everyone's waiting for. So drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. Finally, check out my friends over at Advanced GG, where code Espresso can get you 10% off your entire order, but more on that a little later. For now, let's get into it. So over on the news page for Arc Raiders, we ended up seeing a new blog article posted called Trials Season 5, Prove Your Mettle. The Rust Belt never settles, where it says menacing machines stalk the surface, their operations ever increasing at an alarming rate. You've shot, burnt, exploded, bludgeoned, and scavenged your way through Season 4 of your weekly trials, securing vital supplies and culling Arc infestations. For all your dedicated work, a flashy new outfit seems only fitting. They said Season 4 ends July 7th. Your final placement will unlock a variety of different colors and toggles for the blind spot set, with what you can see on screen right now as the sort of designated rewards for each of the different categories you can be in for your rankings for Trials. They then detailed a little bit about what Season 5 will hold. They said Season 5 starts on July 7th at 1200 UTC, and Season 5 will end on September 30th at 7 a.m. UTC, where they then said, "We hear your feedback, Raiders, and the next season of Trials is loaded with a variety of new objectives for you to grind out. From damaging specific Arc with certain weapons, snitches get stitches, to absorbing pop explosions to the face, the next season will bring fresh new ways to test your loadout alongside a selection of returning challenges. Trials Season 5 reward outfit of the Skorda. You'll have until September 30th to tackle the new Trials and earn variations of the Skorda outfit based on your final performance. Legendary Raiders who reach the rank of Hotshot or Cantina Legend will unlock an exclusive red and blue color variant, letting Raiders and Arc alike know that you're not one to be messed with. Suit up like a juggernaut and earn additional cosmetics at the end of the season of a backpack of the Green Bruiser, backpack charm of the Pressure Gauge, backpack attachment of the Hydraulic Pump, and the Come At Me emote. They said Arc activity rises and tentative alliances with nomads begins to form. However this plays out, you'll need to rock some heavy armor. The next season of Trials is about to start. Get out there and prove your mettle." So unlike last season, or I guess the announcement of this past current season here of Season 4, there wasn't really anything that gave way to any major groundbreaking shifts in how Trials ended up working. Like, we saw some reworks last season to things like no longer being tied to specific map conditions, the 2x modifier was taken away, things like that, but we don't have those types of foundational changes to how the system will work this time around. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot that can be said here. There is notably no mention of some of the stuff about Trials that players have wanted to see adjusted. Things like the waiting until the end of the week to end up getting into weaker leaderboards at those higher ranks. That's still a thing. Ranking up at the very end of the season to end up getting into Hotshot or something like that is still incredibly easy by comparison to being there all season, grinding it out and trying to stay there. Solos versus trios inconsistencies are still there. While none of those things were necessarily addressed specifically and may not have any adjustments coming for the upcoming season here, I think from what I've seen, this is kind of a pain point because those exist, but then you have things like, okay, well, we're getting new challenges of taking a pop blast to the face. So like, for some, this next season of Trials is probably going to be a little bit of the same old, same old. For others, might not necessarily be too worthwhile, but there doesn't seem to be anything that's really adding to this to like bring in new players that otherwise wouldn't do Trials that innovates on the systems at hand. But that's the Trial stuff in particular. However, I think there's actually more that we can decipher from this. If we're reading a little bit further into this, myself as a YouTuber, I have to fall into this cliche of it. The end and the start of a new season for Trials always coincides with one thing in particular, especially as of lately, since they've locked these up, is that of the expedition windows. And that also then gives us a preview as to what could be after the next expedition or upcoming with the Expedition 5 beyond this one. So Trials have been going up until that window for the next expedition to open up for a couple of seasons now at this point. This should give us a glimpse at when our next window opens up, and then perhaps even a bit further beyond that of the Frozen Trails update. So Trials Season 5, that end date was specified as September 30th. Pending no change, that also seems to be when Expedition 5 will open up as well. So with the new expedition departing on the 21st of July, that will then give us from July 21st upwards of September 30th at that point. So a little over 2 months, which is again, right in line with what we've seen for all of these windows thus far. However, that's notably very close to when we should, in theory, see that October update. Frozen Trails has been mentioned as the October update, and, well, the window's kind of small here on when to expect that. So I'm wondering if this coincides perhaps exactly with when we start to see things happen for Frozen Trails. Previously, we've had a title update that happens for the game, and then the window opens up, that season concludes, things like that. So like, you'll have the content update that same day, a couple of hours after the update goes out, you'll end up seeing that that's when the Expedition window goes live, or at least that's how it's happened historically. This resulting in a few days that would then end up turning into what was recently 2 weeks of play on new content before resetting. So kind of a situation that has been subject to controversy in the past, where like you can end up getting this new stuff. There has been in the past increased drop rate for things like blueprints or their higher tier items that then gets miraculously fixed as of the expedition happening and what happens on the other side of that. So like, it's been subject to controversy, but you introduce new items that you'll immediately then potentially lose with a wipe and things of that nature. But it has happened a couple of times now. So that said, I mean, we could end up seeing this being the marker point for when this title update happens. Now, by that same logic we just explained, it would actually be the September 30th update rather than an October update, though of course you could see that potentially on October 1st. However, I kind of think that October 6th might end up being more possible in terms of just their standard marketing and how they've operated in the past here, usually favoring Tuesdays for those major updates, and that's the first Tuesday of the month. But perhaps they also throw a curveball. Maybe we end up seeing the expedition happen and a reset starts there, and that's when we end up having it. So about maybe 2 weeks after this window opens up, perhaps on the 13th of October. But what's interesting is that no matter what way you spin it, it makes sense. October is chock full of game launches and expansions because nobody's touching November. GTA 6 is running that category, but October, just big name stuff. You've got Gears and Star Wars Galactic Racer on the 6th. You've got Modern Warfare 4 on the 23rd. You've likely got a Battlefield 6 seasonal update in the mix there, among plenty of other things. That it's chock full of things in October, but it's still out of the crosshairs of the giant of the industry at the moment. You get your launch of your major game overhaul in, you let people have the time to play that for about a month here, and you still have that window of 2 months for an air quote season of expeditions, and then you can get past GTA 6 without any real fuss, but everybody's seen that revival or that larger update you've been talking about for months now at this point. And beyond that, this could potentially have even more implications for the future here, because if this tethers to the new expedition, that expedition window to follow that of Season 5 for Trials could be our first instance of the changed and adjusted progression systems. It has been mentioned that Frozen Trails will come along with a new system of progression for Arc Raiders, and we already know that Expedition 5 is going to be our last with the increase to stash space. We already know we have the lack of increase on consecutive buffs with this expedition. We're at that wall for a lot of what we see for the core of what expeditions are. So for potentially a whole rework of that system, that also could tie in line perfectly with what we see on the other side of this Season 5 window. But anyways, might be getting ahead of myself here. The more immediate future, Trials Season 5 is upcoming. Again, introduces some stuff, but also isn't anything groundbreaking. More of the same for some people, maybe not even that enticing for others. But I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback on all that. Now, before we wrap everything up, a quick heads up, we have partnered with my friends over at Advanced GG. Again, as we've mentioned, a bit under the radar the last few months, but now going into the summer, ramping that up more and more. Advanced is the healthier energy supplement option where I use it daily as my comparable cup of coffee. Currently drinking that raspberry lemonade. Magic Rainbow Sherbet's also another one that's one of my favorites, but I'd highly recommend, and we actually co-branded that along with a few other items on their site, like a 26-ounce ice shaker. But love this stuff. If you're looking for a replacement for your own cup of coffee, give it a try. If you decide to give it a go, code Espresso and get 10% off your entire order. But no sweat, appreciate you hearing me out on this, and of course, just checking in on the videos here that you made it this far. But for now, that's what we're gonna call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.